Hey, everybody, come on in. Come on in. We see you out there. The chat's open. It's Sunday, the 7th of March, 2021. We're going to do an episode of Sunday Funnies. We're going to talk about Arrow Comics. It's going to be fun.
March just means I'm getting older.
Time marches on. Yeah.
It just means
March.
it just means I'm getting older. It's like, oh man, I don't know how many more of these marches I got in me.
Is that your birthday? Your birthday month? It's March.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What does that make you? 25, 26?
Yeah. According to my height, 11.
Okay.
Because I noticed 11. That I'm starting to look eye to eye with my kid, and I'm like,
isn't that a scary thing?
Yeah, we're gonna go from lectures to fisticuffs real soon. You know.
You're gonna go all meta barons on each other.
Hey, look, when you get my height, it's time to fight. Like I can't lecture somebody that's looking me eye to eye. I just can't. I fight or flight. Especially if I'm scared of you.
So I had the exact opposite reaction because I was mad and was yelling at the daughter and then realized I was looking at her face to face, eye to eye. And I'm like, you know what? If you don't know better by now, I've really failed. My job is done. I threw my hands up and walked away. It's like
there comes a point where
all the anger just went right out. Yeah. It's like, guess what? You're an adult. Done.
He's adult sized. That's a problem. Mine is adult sized.
Isn't that the same for all of us?
It's kind of a meet between.
I'm adult sized.
You're just gonna have to get one of those milk cartons to stand on.
You know, he
for a few years. That's all.
He used to be fun sized, you know, and now he's full size Snickers bar. And I've got to do something. I can lift weights. I got to make sure that I keep him off me. Jab, uppercut, jab. You know,
bob and weave.
Yeah. I ain't gonna kick my. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Not a problem.
What?
You know how these Sunday Funny shows go, folks. We start and we wander all over the place, but we have a direction today. So come on in, everybody. Nita's in the house. Morning, Nita. Hope you're doing well. Yeah. We have some landing news a little later. It'll be fun. It's all good.
I see he's got the Halloween mask on her picture. Or is that it's not I guess it is a Halloween mask, but it's her.
It's a mask with a bandana, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Pisces for the win. Yeah, man.
She's Pisces for the win. Ding.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited about the news this morning because Randy is very smart and he's kept me out of the loop on anything he's doing. And
so it's all new to you.
It's all new to me, and I can't be. Yeah,
a lot of this is new. Yeah.
And I like there's stuff that Randy's been doing, and I'm like, really? Oh, you're doing that?
You're doing what? Yeah.
I don't know stuff. It's like I'm excited to hear what he's gonna do.
And honestly, it all hinges on you, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Oh, it all hinges on me. Sweet. Okay. Well,
it does.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah,
no pressure. Burden's on you.
Whatsoever.
So.
Yeah. It hinges on me because I can't keep my mouth shut. So that's why he doesn't tell me anything. That's why.
Is that what it is? No, that's not what it is.
Big mouth, broad shoulders.
There you are.
We could pile on.
Yeah.
Hang on, everybody. I've got an opening that we can run, and we'll get this party started. Welcome aboard again to our radio listeners. You're listening to an episode of the Sunday Funnies for March 7th, 2021. It is an Arrow special because it's an Arrow kind of day. Here we go. Here's the opening. That's not the opening. Here. everybody out there. Thanks for jumping in and being a part of the program. The chat is open. Feel free to partake all you would like. We see Williams in the house. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Miguel, hashtag Aero Comic. That's right. Hashtag Aero Comics. What?
I'll be clearing that 45 seconds of audio later with YouTube.
For what?
With the copyright they're gonna hand us. They every time I use that music, I have to show them the receipt that.
Do you?
Yeah, every time.
Are they still copyright?
Oh, every
About
time, every episode of Sunday Funnies copyright claim, and I have to send them an email saying, "Guys, really?"
Use. Yeah.
Yep. And I show them the receipt. Like, here's it. Look, we have permission, and they're like, "Oh, okay, copyright claim released." It's like, why do we keep doing this? It's a
because they're $1 billion company with only like 3 employees and bots.
And it's only one company that keeps doing, a company called Hawk for a third party, HAWWK. Yeah. And if you are monetized, what happens is that all the money you make on that video is diverted directly to them.
Yeah.
So
it's useless because we're not monetized.
Yeah, but the minute I am, that's when
there we go.
I'm gonna become sour. But go ahead.
Morning, Joe, from the desk of a small press publisher.
Hey,
morning,
Joe.
And still digital, inking despite sleep.
Yeah, I'm in sketchbook jail too.
Are you? What does that mean?
I have to. I'm doing like a whole stack of sketch covers, and I'm coloring the next issue, and the usual stuff.
Glenn Fleming says morning and afternoon, Glenn. The time travel thing is awesome. Thank you. Yes. William Pace says Russ will save us. John Celestri. Good morning, John. Good morning. Good morning. It's getting harder for me to wake up early on weekends.
Yeah, it's overrated.
It's the weekend.
That's why I always try to contact people in advance if they're going to be here. I know Scott Rosema is sleeping in a little this morning. He'll be here hopefully with us later on. So we'll be talking more about what he's doing. But we'll see if he wakes up. It'll all be good. I think he's already awake. So he said he'll be here about 10. Hey, Joe D, says John Celestri. Comic Book Black Belt. Hey. Hi, all. Yeah.
Hello there.
Just saying hi in the chat.
Mike Jimmy says, good morning, lovelies. Good morning. Good morning, Mike Jimmy. I hope you're doing well.
This is afternoon, actually.
Afternoon. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Obviously, he's ahead of us.
Yeah.
That's that time travel thing, right?
Yeah.
That Glenn was talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, Glenn was up since 5 a.m. Well, he was up at 5 a.m.
Yeah. Our time or his time? Says, I slept all day yesterday, so I could be William. Thank you.
Well, the cool thing is I know I can always message like Glenn and Russ in the middle of the night, and they can't be like, why the hell you messaging me in the middle of the night? It's early morning for them.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a whole nother issue. Like,
when my phone starts going off at 3 a.m, I know it's Varian.
Yeah.
He's gotten to know when I wake up early in the morning to see the wife off. So I get up, the alarm goes off, and ding, ding, ding. Here's all the stuff Varian's been awake to show me. Yeah. There we go. Mike Jimmy again, casually from the future. Absolutely. Yeah. Kino Subway. Kino, how are you, buddy? I hope to get you get all of you on my morning roast sometime. Absolutely, sure. Kino.
Yeah, absolutely.
The episode that you had Russ on was brought to my attention. We deeply thank you for all the kind words, not just for Indie Volt, but myself personally. Deep thanks. So
yeah, thank you
for that. And anytime you want us on, Kino, just let us know. Set up.
Yeah,
time
exactly. Just
we'll
DM
and we wanted him on too. So
yeah, absolutely. I was on the Talking with Turtle podcast of all things because I'm related to the host. He asked me to do an hour yesterday on that podcast. So I was over there. I think it's Adventures with Turtle or it's Rival Turtle. He popped up here just out of the blue on Thursdays or Tuesday show and was shocked that I was doing a podcast. So he's like, I do a podcast too. We need to do a podcast together.
Twinsies.
Yeah, exactly.
You got asked on the show because of nepotism.
Yes. I did for once. It's like, okay, not a problem. Anything to help you out. We talked art and stuff. He went and got his, he's getting a bachelor's in design. He's already got the other lower grade, whatever that is. all college paper. I never went and got it
Like
because,
associates or something.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
but he blames me for it. So it's like, dude, he used to attend my classes when I would teach cartooning after school.
Oh,
So it kind of lit a fire underneath him. So that was flattering. Kino, yeah, hope to get you all on. Glenn says Russ is half a light second
Light
ahead of me.
second.
Yeah, half a light second ahead of me.
Slightly blurred.
Slightly blurred. Running at a slightly different vibration. Kino, aka Sugar Pops.
Sugar. Show me some sugar, Chris.
Sugar.
Amanda B, thanks for listening. Morning, Russ. Morning, Kino. Morning, all. Morning, all. How are you?
Morning.
How are you? All right, that's the chat up to date. We are here to talk about Arrow Comics. Arrow. If you didn't get to see our episode back in October,
Hold on. One second. Sir, I asked for this pop literally 2 minutes ago.
How dare you?
I'm going to die. I'm parched. I needed libation 2 minutes ago. You hear that? That's my throat. How am I supposed to entertain people when I sound like
Someone's
nobody tell me nothing.
And that's worse.
You had what?
creating the ending to single white female in 5 minutes.
You have asthma. You have asthma and you standing next to me out here and we got COVID in these streets.
Do you draw the Flintstones naked?
Yeah. I don't understand how that's relevant right now.
Go away. All right, I'm sorry, Randy. Sorry, the service is poor around here, and they let the service walk around here with asthma.
the service. You have service.
Can't get stuff.
Ay.
My wife's out getting groceries. So, hey.
Good help is so hard to make. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Anyway,
It's warm.
What?
It's warm. Where you get that from?
do we need a second so you can get some ice?
No, it's okay. Go ahead. We'll continue on.
Are you sure? Can we make it?
Did we start?
Yeah,
I ran the opening. Yeah. We're all still working.
Ay.
So who are you?
Who am I?
Mhm.
Who are you?
Want me to start first? Hi, everybody. My name is Varian Grant. I am the founder of Indie Vote Media LLC. Started making comics back in 2008. I make comics through Last Call Comics. I am the guy behind Liberty Entertainment Distribution, ledg.us. You want to get your independent comics in stores, much like Randy's Arrow Comics is doing. There's Bill and the Liberty Entertainment Distribution logo. So you want to get your independent book in stores, that's the way to do it. Just like Arrow, ledg.us. I'm one of the founding 5 members of Terraform. What else have I done? I started the Indie Vote Comic Book Awards, which Russ is also submitted
the pack.
for.
Yes,
He's submitted
right
for.
now.
Yeah,
And we're contractually obligated to run that advertisement, right?
well, yeah, you can run it later though, because I know you got limited time here, and I know I got to start getting ready to. I got to go to church for my sins, so
Okay. That conventional booth won't wait.
yeah. It's
He has to clear the slate so he can start over.
yeah. And so really excited to be here,
It's
and
the father running and screaming that's the concern to all.
Yeah.
So
and snitching too. They can't tell the cops. Anyway, go ahead.
God always knows.
Yeah.
God always
Just not on
knows.
each other, but that's a different story.
Mm.
Political. Not allowed.
We're gonna leave that where it's at. I ain't touching that.
Two penalty points to Daphne.
So it was worth it.
I need to warn everybody, we are TVMA DLSV.
It was worth it.
This might not be meant for kids, though we try. Sunday morning, we try. So William says, oh my God, I'm crying. Sorry. Joshua Perry in the house. Good morning, people. Good morning, Joshua. How you doing? Nita says, Daphne, I got to show off my BD. I got to show off my birthday present Friday night.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
everyone's jealous. How sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
I sent her a whole stack of stuff.
Oh, awesome. Laughed my ass off. What an episode of Artist Knows Best. Yeah. There we go. And it's not too cold.
It's not cold. We're talking about my pop and what I made the
It's
comment.
not
It's not
cold.
cold. Yeah.
William says, Varian Grant is trying to remember what he's done.
Yeah.
Because you've done so much. Daphne, introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello. My name is Daphne Lage, and I am a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York, which explains a lot. I have been self-publishing comics since 1992, and I am known for the funny animal fantasy Tall Tales right here, and my medieval drama Ego Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn. You can read both my comics at talltalesonline.com, TAILS, and egoworks.com, EGOWORKS, where you can read the first 5 issues of Ego Raven for free. And you can also watch my videos on how I make these comics on YouTube at Daphne Lage, Lage art.
Scott Rosema sent me a private message. He says, my arrival is imminent. Tremble in my presence.
Is that because like when he walks, it's like boom, boom, boom? Oh, never mind.
You probably won't be here by the time he gets here.
Oh no, I'm getting out of here. Listen, Scott Roseman is like the white Uncle Phil. I make jokes about his weight, his age, and then I run. I'm like Will. I'm like, let me get out of here.
And today we are also joined by special guest Russ Leach. Russ, introduce yourself, please.
My name's Russ Leach. I am the comic book black belt. I've been in media, design, publishing, and the creative services for over 30 years now, so I'm getting a little bit frail. But more recently, since 2010, I've been drawing comics in anger. And after a short stint with Marvel and Doctor Who, and over at Cartoon Network, I ended up trying to produce my own books. So I now have a book called Only Death Can Save Us, which you can find at onlydeathcansavus.com. You can find me at russleach.com and comicbookblackbelt.com. They're the same site, just different titles. And you can find me on YouTube as Comic Book Black Belt, where you'll find my YouTube channel full of production videos and bits and pieces on how I produce my work, as well as the odd live stream and craziness. So that's it. That's me.
Sweet. And folks, my name is Randy Zimmerman. I saved myself for last because I'm the host of the program today. And I am now the editor-in-chief of the current incarnation of Arrow Comics that we are here today to talk about me restarting. We're going to get this rolling again and see how it goes. Scott wants you to know that Varian is his boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
Just so you know.
No judgment.
No judgment. Arrow Comics started, and I just put an introductory video up on our YouTube channel. I used to have a channel on YouTube called Zim Geek. I changed it to Arrow Comics 4.0 and put up an introductory video to let folks know what an Arrow Comics used to be, in case they didn't know or it came out before they were born. A lot of the current comic readers are not aware of Arrow and the amount of content that they kicked out. Is that Jonah Zim? J. Jonah Zim. Thanks, William.
Get me some pictures of Spider-Man now.
Exactly. I can be angry exactly like J. Jonah. I'm not going to cut my mustache like his, though. That's not going to happen.
You get banned from YouTube for that.
You probably would at this point. All you got to do is show your face. But anyway, Arrow Comics is around starting about 1984. They started out doing a book called Fantastic Fanzine. There's a couple of guys, Ralph Griffith and Stuart Kerr. If you didn't see our show back in October that we did with them, please go back at your leisure and take a look, because we really tried to detail a lot of the history. Ralph knew at that point that his days were numbered, and we wanted to get him on and get him on video on a lot of this stuff. And it was a very important podcast. But Arrow Comics was around back in the mid 80s to the late 80s. They got caught in the black and white bust of that period. There's a lot of product that came out during that time period that nobody talks about anymore, though everybody should, because at that point, comics were really starting to spread out in variety and diversity. There were a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different things were going on. And then the black and white bust happened. There were a lot of people that came in and abused the marketplace. The retailers overinvested on certain key books that cost them dearly, and added to their quarter boxes pretty much. And it really caused constriction of the market. Now, a lot of these guys ended up stopping or having to stop and go away. But also what it did is that it caused a lot of the distributors that were out at that point, and I believe Stuart said when we were talking to him on the show that there were 26 different distributors at that point, because there was like Comics Hawaii and Sunrise and Friendly Franks and all of these other distributors out there moving comics into the direct market. The direct market was a lot bigger. I would venture to say 10 times bigger, pretty close, than it is now. They were moving a lot of product. Arrow Comics is moving if you were to hear the numbers, they're like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. The lowest book that I did was Tales from the Aniverse, #2, which is that book there, and that was 5,000. And that was one of the lowest print runs that Arrow had done during their run. Anyway, again, Arrow stopped. Arrow Comics was formed by Ralph and Stu, who decided they wanted to do a creator-owned company. It was almost like a commune type situation, because anybody that brought their book to Arrow, the Arrow decided to print, owned the property outright. They weren't interested in anything but printing the book. They would take a percentage of the sales, and the bookkeeping was always transparent. Here's how much it costs to do your book. Here's whatever extra production we had to do for you. Here's the amount. Here's your percentage. And that's the way it always worked.
Sorry, just to interrupt.
Right.
So they were Image before Image.
Pretty
Literally,
much.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Image was really started by the five founding members or 6 founding members that came in and decided to start printing their own stuff. Ralph and Stu intentionally came out and was looking for other people's material. They printed Tales from the Aniverse as their first title. They didn't own it. They printed, well, they wanted to use us as guinea pigs, but we were happy to be experimented on to get the way made while Ralph and Stu worked on their own products. And then they ended up doing The Realm and Dead World. And Ralph did System 7. There's The Realm there. That was right off of their D&D campaign. We were kids back during that time, and they were really big D&D players, and they took their campaign and just ran it. The premise of The Realm was 4 kids from Michigan end up being transported into a fantasy world and of elves and demons and wizards and all of that, and then they were made to deal in that world. Dead World, what?
Daphne, she was into it. She was mesmerized.
You can see she's totally into it.
Seeing that cover just makes me all verklempt.
Yeah,
And I'm not being facetious. I am really not being facetious, because it's like look. I mean,
John, I know John's illustrious out in the audience. He's seeing a lot of rock and roll influence in there.
yeah.
So yeah, that was all intentional, because the artist was really, really big on that. Even though now he prefers his name not be mentioned with this style of material.
Pussy. Am I still in timeout?
Yeah.
You are now. You're not supposed to say that word.
Yeah. Like, Fox is gonna...
and the guys didn't say it.
Yeah.
And remember, folks, she was talking about her cat.
Yeah. Well, let's hope not.
They also did Dead World, which was their version of Romero's Night of the Living Dead. It was just they wanted to run their own zombie book. But the reason they wanted to run it wasn't for fame and fortune or whatever. Nobody had ever done a zombie horror type title before. In fact, up until right around this point, the Comic Code Authority was dissolving. They didn't allow zombies on their books. In fact, when Marvel did Zombie Tales magazine, that was a huge departure from the Comic Code Authority. And they did what was his name? Simon something was the zombie character that they had running through. Anyway, Ralph and Stu, again, very much like The Realm, was a bunch of kids that get caught into a zombie type. They don't get teleported, but the world slowly decays because the dead start living and start wanting to consume, brains. But this came out in 1985, and they had a leader, a king zombie that was sentient, that went around was going to rule the world. They blamed the apocalypse not on a viral infection. There wasn't like a viral infection, but it was aliens that had come down and planted it. So Dead World was really, again, a groundbreaking book, and went into obscurity. And then 20 years later or so, 25 years later, all of a sudden everybody's doing a zombie book. So the thing with the Realm, when the Realm sprung up, is that nobody paid much attention to it when it first started. I think the first print run on the Realm was 10,000. But by the time it had, I'm doing that, Daphne's expression. By the time the Realm hit issue 4, they were moving 40,000 copies through the direct market because of all of these distributors and the type of book that it was. And then suddenly there sprung up a whole group of fantasy books. The Adventurers, the Crypt, there's just a ton of tall tales and all of that sprung up out of that.
I'm literally an Arrow baby.
Well, we weren't that old either when everything started way back when. So anyway, Arrow again gets caught in the black and white bust, and they Ralph and Stu run out of money. Quite frankly, the distributors that owed Arrow money ended up going bankrupt without paying them. Is what really caught them unawares. It's a bunch of young kids. They didn't stay on top of their bookkeeping, and they fully admit they didn't have lawyers. They didn't have accountants. They were just a couple of guys out there having fun printing books. So once that happens to you, though, once you do the self-publishing gig, it gets into your blood, and you always want to do it. You don't being away from it's not like a horribly addictive drug, but it is.
It's more like septicemia that you don't die from.
Yeah. You keep wanting to go back to it. And I kept doing self-publishing efforts myself. I pulled away before Arrow ended up folding and took Aniverse, and tried to self-publish it under the Weeby Comics brand. And then later under the Massive Comics brand, I did 3 more issues of Tales from the Aniverse. But Arrow was still there, and they were still always looking to be publishing again. And it looked like they were going to do that back in the, I believe it's the early mid-90s, probably mid-90s. And they came back and did, and I don't think I have the card up for it. They did an issue of Fantastic Fanzine, the color one that had Batman on the cover that slid by in our opening. And they did 2 more issues of The Dead with Jason Moore and Jeff Lafferty doing the artwork on it. Same basic concept as Dead World. At that point, when Arrow went under the first time, and this should probably be explained, they gave the rights for the Realm and Dead World over to the artists because they owed them money. They just let them take the rights, and then Gary Reed came in after that and paid those artists for the title of Dead World and the Realm. So they weren't going to be, homeless pretty much. And from that, Gary and a few other titles, big titles like The Crow, and that Gary started Caliber Comics and started printing stuff like crazy. Ralph and Stu came back for a little bit, tried to do Arrow, did a couple of issues of The Dead, couldn't get the funding rolling properly, and they folded up again. Then a couple of years after that, I went and found funding with Scott Moore, who owns Galaxy Comics up in Saginaw. And he invested the money, I invested the time, and we restarted Arrow Comics again as a company using the same philosophy and the same, not quite the same branding. I went through and changed the logo a little bit over to more of an arrowhead look to it inside of a box. But the same idea was there. We printed folks' properties for them. We're always transparent with the bookkeeping. Always gave them the lion's share of the profit for doing it, as well as our own works. Because I did, I've got cards pulled up for that. Well, maybe not. I did a couple of titles myself, but it was always hard. Did War of the Worlds. That's one of them. Ralph and Stu came in and did Dark Oz for us. They were doing Oz over at an updated version of Oz, kind of almost like a combination of Oz and Realm to an extent. And it was constantly getting darker and darker and darker. And they were getting tired of working on it. And when we restarted Arrow, they brought their Oz property over to us and did a 5-issue Dark Oz series where everything just totally went to hell and at Oz, in Oz, and basically ended up very dark times. And I think the universe ended up dying at the end of their series.
A couple of great covers you just showed there.
Yeah, it has a big Brian Boland vibe.
This cover was done by Bill Bryan, and he did all of the artwork for the Oz books as long as Ralph and Stu were writing it. And yeah, he is totally amazing. Very big commercial artist around the Hamtramck area, I believe. Still, I haven't talked to him in a while. I need to, but he went through and re-envisioned Oz because of the copyright entanglements. Oz was in public domain, but certain imagery you can't use. And Travis Gibb just ran into that problem with his Cthulhu Invades Oz book, where he has to be real careful about what he can use. You can't use ruby slippers. You can't have the witch flying around spelling out Surrender Dorothy and anything that can be remotely tied back to the MGM movie, because MGM owns the MGM movie. But the Oz property itself is in public domain. So it's tender walking. Same thing with the War of the Worlds. I went through and updated the War of the Worlds. I did that originally for Caliber for 5 issues, and they still offer that collection over at Amazon in a bound form called Infestation, War of the Worlds Infestation. When I came back and restarted Arrow, I started a second story called The Memphis Front that I was never able to totally complete. That is still holds up. The artwork for that was by Richard Gulick was the guy's name, and he had almost Adam Hughes type, very, very clean line style, just fantastic stuff. Hopefully we'll get back around to that here eventually. And now, well, towards the end of 2000, we ran into problems at Arrow because we kept butting heads with the distributor, the direct market distributor. Everything had narrowed down to Diamond. Diamond started making more and more rules and regulations. They started adding hoops and things that they demanded that we make, or they wouldn't distribute the book. And then eventually it got to the point where they started enforcing minimums, what they called minimums, where you had to clear a certain amount at a certain time, or they weren't even going to carry your book. And they started using that minimum rule as an excuse to start telling people what they could or could not print. And then eventually they started their retailer board, where they had people up there deciding what books they were going to offer and what books they weren't going to allow in the green section. It wasn't a matter of art. It wasn't a matter of artistic choices or taking chances with the market. That was gone. All you could distribute at Diamond are books that Diamond felt there was no question were distributable. So you see a lot of these secondary mainstream companies went out and got licensed properties in order to do it, because that was easy to slide in under the retail board, no matter how little money they were making, because those licenses are not cheap.
Yeah.
You know, the Hasbro license is never cheap. Once they started doing that, I'm sure the license for comics started going up and up and up and up, and it's very difficult to break even when you when you have a licensed property.
I remember doing some work for a smaller indie publisher 2010 2011 when I got started this time round, and one of the books they got someone at Diamond to look at them, and they didn't. They said there's this minimum print run, there's this minimum order, but also we don't like the inking, so we're not taking it. And it's like, you're a distributor, you're not a publisher, you're not an editor. What are you doing? I mean, as it happened, I look back at my work and I think, well, they were probably right. But that's neither here nor there. It's not for them to decide that. So I just brushed with that a little bit on my way in, and was naive to think that that's not what went on. So I soon had my eyes opened.
Well, it got to the. Go ahead.
Tall Tales has been banned from Diamond for like the past 20 years. They won't even let anybody else have, put it in the catalog.
Well, it's time for them to go then, isn't it?
Not bitter about that at all.
No,
no bitterness.
Time.
No,
it's just as well that there's other people turning up with distribution opportunities now,
Yeah.
because they've parked themselves into a corner, haven't they?
So here's an old Arrow history story. I'm not sure if we covered in the original program or not, because we mainly tried to talk about the first version of Arrow, the Arrow that Ralph and Stu was associated with. But there came a time where we were so frustrated with Diamond, so angry at them, we started playing back. And we were talking to retailers who were literally mad at us at shows, going, I ordered 5 of your book. I only got 3. What's the problem? How come you're shorting Diamond? And I'm like, we're not shorting Diamond. Diamond is sending us an invoice to fill. We're filling the invoice and we're sending it to Diamond. And at this point, Diamond had probably a dozen distribution houses all spread throughout the country, unlike the 2 that they have today. Anyway, it got to the point where, like I said, they were telling us what we could or couldn't do. We had a book that we were going to print that Caliber had that the gentleman had brought it to us, that involved a clown assassin called Happy the Clown. And he had found somebody who had gone out and done a really tight manga style on the book. And we were ecstatic because the quality of the book was great. The writing was phenomenal. We were going to do it, and we promoted it as Happy the Clown's manga special #1. And we sent them a description that said, this is a manga inspired book. It's phenomenal looking. It's very professional. We sent them a cover image. They took that cover image and they printed it in the preview book about the size of the smallest postage stamp that you can imagine. They printed the title, Happy the Clown Manga Special #1, and they printed our description almost to the point of it not making sense, so that they could delete every reference to manga, which was really popular at that point and had just started going on a hard upswing, out of the description. And when we contacted them and said, what are you doing to us? You have literally killed the sales on this book. They said, we do whatever we want. We can take your solicitation and edit it however we want. We can take your cover image and make it as large as we want. And that's the way it is. You're just going to have to deal. So the orders came in on that book at 500. And we literally had to have 800 in order to break even back then, because of the print runs we were doing. We were printing on newsprint too, in black and white with a full color cover on it. So we were befuddled. The guy who had done the property was totally depressed. And it's just one of a number of bad situations that we had to go through, thanks to the distributor, not the market. It wasn't the market making the decision. It was the distributor deciding for us how they were going to treat us, because they could treat us any way they want. So what we ended up doing, I told the artist or the writer on the book who had control of the property, look, sit on this book for 6 months. We're going to resolicit for it, but we're going to make it different. And in the meantime, I built up a subtitle for our company called Arrow Manga, in order to make sure everybody knows these are manga books. And we retitled that book and named it after the antagonist in the book. Well, the main character was an assassin anyway, so neither one of them were very good characters. I mean, good as far as attitude or whatever.
Anti-hero type.
Yeah, and the anti-hero type. Yeah, the character was the character that Happy was going out to try to assassinate was a cute little girl character called Butterfly Gun. So we called the book Butterfly Gun. And then we told everybody, we told Diamond in the solicitations that we had exclusive rights, North American rights, to print this book from this artist. And we're calling it Butterfly Gun. We're really happy to do it. It's a mature title and it's manga. And because of that, they gave us a bigger than usual size cover and printed all of our solicitation. We got really high numbers on it. And the writer was super happy. And he was happy to relabel it, to make a second chance at it. We were actually able to give him some profits off of that book, which was really good. It got to the point where we were really getting fed up. And here's Scott Rosema is coming in.
If it just goes to show that if Diamond had some imagination
for me.
Hello.
Me. Yeah.
Hello, my sexy voiced friend.
Good morning, everybody.
Wait, we should switch that around. There we go.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be Daphne's left-hand man.
Well, that way we can run this clip without too much confusion.
Daphne, do we have something we want to add to this?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to be hiring Daphne to become my official phrase maker.
Oh, sure.
Totally impressed me by the last time she wielded her verbal weapon.
Verbal vernacular. Yes.
Yeah.
Scott, introduce yourself to our radio audience.
Hey, everybody, I'm Scott Rosema, a longtime professional in the comics industry. I won't list all of my credits because this is Randy's show, not mine. But Marvel, DC, Warner Brothers, Archie Comics, Valiant, Cartoon Network, Hasbro, blah, 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 all kinds of places. So, and since that's out of the way, I wanted to say again to Daphne that you said earlier that just thinking about Arrow Comics kind of made you all verklempt.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were Italian.
I thought verklempt was German.
Oh, is that German?
I think it's German.
Oh yeah, I knew it was one of the, I knew it was one of the Axis powers.
Right? Yeah. There you go.
Vaguely European. Yeah.
And I should point out that Varian left the room as soon as she came in. So
See, running scared. That's what I knew.
Yeah.
I knew
You
it.
have to run to church.
he's got to go to church here in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm still deciding what I'm going to do with his. I'm his white Uncle Phil. I'm going to have to see if I can't figure that out.
Well, we were just talking about the third incarnation of Arrow Comics, and we got
Right, I was listening in.
of your August book.
I remember those heady days very well. And they, I recall when during that incarnation, you and Scott sat me down at a Chicago Comic-Con, and I'm not sure how we connected about August, my character, my book, but I remember. I said those were heady times. We made a deal on how to do it, and I was able to get a preview story out and then 2 full issues of the book. But like you said, because of the distributor mess, I don't think any of us ever experienced as much exposure or sales with the books as we would like. I think
Just frustration.
Yeah. And so we couldn't make enough money on it to keep going. I had to turn back to doing more, more commercial projects and stuff. So it was just one of those, one of the situations where, you pour your heart into something and you try and dedicate to it. But when it comes down to the, Daphne, give me a phrase. What am I looking for? What?
I'm at a loss for words right now.
No.
The bottom line.
Pressure, it's too much pressure.
Daphne, no. They ain't so.
There we go.
Like I said, I was banned from Diamond, so from the catalog. So
Well, we had some really
yeah.
great quality products that I'm still proud of that we printed to this day.
Oh,
They came in so below or just about at that break-even point. It was so frustrating because we had to explain to people, and there even got to be a point there later on where I had to tell people that there was no way we can print their book because we would take such a hard hit because the numbers were so low, even though the product quality on the book was really high.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
One of our most frustrating books that we did was Corvus, which I slid across the on the openings, the guy leaning on his sword, kind of a barbarian book that Mick Furnett wrote. And Nick was a credible writer, and he had tried to do the book on his own for 2 issues and was not the artist, was not as good of an artist as a writer that he was. And he had kind of low sales on the book, but the property was phenomenal. So I went out and found an art team for him that matched his writing ability. And we started kicking out that book. After the first issue, what happened is Diamond saw the numbers starting to rise because of the quality of that book, and they shut the title down on us. And the reason they gave us is, well, you only have so many chances, and we're counting these 2 previous chances that Nick self-published as part of your tally on this title. So we talked about renaming the book or doing whatever, but at that point, because they had turned us away on the sales of the book, Nick was done. He was just threw his hands up and he got out of comics altogether.
See, that's the real definition of gatekeeping.
It is.
You know.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
So go ahead.
that was always so frustrating to see. Not only was Diamond taking, as you said earlier, Russ, which, by the way, hi, Russ. How we doing?
Hi, yeah, lovely to meet you. Yes, in the presence of a legend. So.
Yeah, well, give it a minute. We'll see
how much you like that.
Yeah. But the fact that Diamond was taking this bizarre editorial stance on the product, that they were supposed to be just distributing and getting it to stores and letting the audience decide if it was worth having or buying or following. And of course, I have to say, I'm not sure. Well,
and Varian's gone to church now, so
yeah.
I should have tried to get numbers from him before he left out the door. But.
Expect to hear lightning and the sound of burning holy water. Well, the fact that I have to say that I thought for a long time that Diamond was in bed with Marvel and DC as a way to just kind of keep so many other companies from getting a real foothold in the marketplace. I mean, I'm not trying to put across the sinister overtone, but when you've got these huge companies with deep pockets and they're going to, sweeten your own pot by, having you do just certain things, like I said, short a few books here and there, create, animosity amongst in the marketplace, and yet every Marvel and DC book is delivered on time in full numbers, and they've got the advertising capability. I don't know. It's almost as if I never really thought that Diamond really kept and maintained a level playing field.
It's not a conspiracy. It's business as usual.
No, exactly. It's business as usual. Yeah, and a lot of it, you can see the lack of imagination. So from a business perspective, they were all about the big two. Okay, and then eventually there were a few others, like Image and Dark Horse and what have you. But they're all about the big two. And with it's just like the golden goose kept laying, and they had no imagination to expand. And so, instead of just the direct market to comic shops, why not go back to going out to supermarkets or 7-Elevens or whatever? But they didn't want to know about that because it didn't work for them. And Marvel were quite happy. Marvel and DC were quite happy with the way that it was. But of course, you're seeing the industry moving. The tectonic plates are moving at the moment, and that kind of approach to business is not going to help.
It's like they want to strangle the marketplace and they get mad when we work around them.
Yeah, that's very true. But in order to put a stranglehold on the distributors, Diamond went around and had all of these companies sign exclusive agreements for distribution through Diamond. And then Diamond decided that the only place they were going to distribute to were retailers. I mean, direct comic shop retailers is what I meant. So then they started making all of these hoops for the retailers to jump through, just like they were making for all of us to jump through because they were Diamond. So in order to get an account, it was next to impossible for any mom and pop guy who's just coming in to secure a solid Diamond account. And when they did, they were at the bottom of the list.
And it took, you would had to have had just an amazingly intense kick-ass attitude as a store owner.
Oh, yeah.
Anything happened. Locally here, back in the 90s and such, had a shop owner that, and he is Mr. Go-Getter. When he was finding his orders or being shorted, he literally drove down to the Chicago distribution hub and literally went to the warehouse and said, I want these many books and I want them now. And he would literally drive down there with his van, get everything he ordered, regardless of what they said or what they tried to do, and he would drive back with it. And
well done.
Oh, yeah. He would do this week after week, month after month.
So there wasn't just a frustration on the publishing side.
Oh, no.
And we also don't mean for this show to be a total Diamond bitch fest. But, but that's what we've been doing, and we're
But
it is a big part of the history.
It's a huge part of this history because it's what shut Arrow 3.0 down. It got to the point where I was so frustrated with the market. I was going to do one issue of my underground monkey character and just tell everybody off and leave. We were going to be done.
Yes, the grand Spank exit.
Yeah, exactly. I had a character named Spank the Monkey that I had published by CFD. And the title was so risque, or considered risque at the time. They didn't want to print those words on the cover, so we ended up doing Shock and Spank the Monkey Boys special #1 through the Cry for Dawn guys, the CFD people, and that book was pretty well received. It was kind of fun. So our frustration was hitting towards the about 2003, 2002, 2003. And I figured I'm going to do one more book and just flip everybody off. I'm going to explain the whole situation, why I'm so mad at everybody. And then the last panel, the last page of the book is Spank sitting here flipping people off. It'll be great, right?
Also, I remember back in the day you were running a blog, I think, kind of doing that already. Like I remember reading. Yeah. On
the Arrow Comics site, I would run Randy Rants, was what we called. And it was me basically complaining about the market. We had, like I said, we had retailers coming up to us wanting to know why we shorted them. We had other publishers coming up to us telling us crazy horror stories that we were just dumbfounded about. They were charging them $600 just to put the cover image in the previews, another amount just to list them, and on and on. We're like, what? Are you nuts?
The Randy Rants were very, very. Those were precious. As artist friends of mine and I said, Randy, that you were like Stan Lee with Tourette's syndrome.
Sorry,
and it was just awesome.
I can get a little opinionated. I can get a little mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to follow that too. You just couldn't help it.
My face is getting red for a reason.
One other thing though is that the thing is, Randy, honestly, I think somewhere, somehow, and I hope this doesn't happen posthumously, you should get an award for creating the name Spank the Monkey. There's just something about that name.
I can tell you how that happened.
I'll never forget. I'm not sure if that's the greatest superhero name or a description of my high school year.
And this is not sure. This is why the character happened. I was at a show in Philadelphia, and it was the show from hell. Everybody has a show from hell.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can all recount. We were stuck in a room. Independent. Yeah. The independent and alternative guys were literally stuck in a room way away from the hucksters area, and we spent the weekend staring at each other pretty much, with occasional person walking in. Hey, what's going on in here? Oh, hey, everybody. We were wondering where you were. And
looking for the bathrooms.
Yeah, pretty much looking for the bathrooms. So I'm there talking with Joe Monks and Pam Hazelton, and we're talking about the different characters that we used to like to read. And Grass Green did an underground character for a while called Flip the Bird.
Grass was awesome.
And I said, if we're going to do that today, it would have to be Spank the Monkey. And when we were all rolling. So I right there at the show, I drew up what Spank would look like. And I said, he has to have somebody to bounce ideas off of. So I drew up Shock. And this was even before Animaniacs sprung up with Pinky and the Brain. It was pretty close to the same type and attitude. You had the dumb guy who was the big experimented on monkey. He had a tag in his ear. And was just goofy. His hair was static and crazy, like one of the characters from the Hair Bear bunch from there's the deep cut. But anyway, they love the idea for the characters. So then this was before Arrow 3.0 sprung up. I ran an opinion strip and a fanzine that they ran or that they printed called Lacune for quite a few years, 3 or 4 years. Even did a set of paper dolls for them. It was fun, but with Shock and Spank. And then I started Arrow 3.0. I didn't want to do an underground character. The frustration with Diamond grew so much, I decided, okay, it's time to bring the monkey back, and we're going to do this. So what I did is I sent a fake submission to Diamond, and I foolishly sent this cover, this cover right here, to them. And it's got Shock and Spank wedged in a cleavage with a bright fluorescent bikini top. talking about what they were going to do. I was going to spend the entire issue talking about the business, but Diamond, so crazy about the cover, gave me a spotlight, ran my submission, and I just made up stuff for Spank to talk about. Spank loves coffee, Spank hates SUVs, on and on and on. They ran it as a big spotlight with a bigger than usual picture of the cover. And somebody at Diamond offices passed it over to Wizard magazine, who decided to print it in one of their books as being On the Edge. So we were the On the Edge title for that month. They literally said anybody who puts two monkeys wedged in a cleavage has to be a genius by this book.
Jesus Christ. You can't make this stuff up. You really can't.
I know.
I am
Well, actually, you can.
Yeah. So we
oh my God. This is how serial killers are born.
we got one of the biggest numbers on that book that Aero 3.0 ever got. So I'm like, oh, we're back in business. We're going to get noticed. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
So I went through in a week and a half and did everything that I wrote in the submission. Spank loves coffee. Spank hates SUVs and all of this. And I went out and we took a Corvus who we were having problems with. There was a short Corvus story in the back as a flip book. And we ran in with a Corvus cover. It was really nice. That kind of flipped the switch on Corvus, I think. But the numbers for Spank were really solid, but I just couldn't keep a deadline because I was busy trying to print everybody else's book.
Right.
So after a few issues, I'm starting to see things drop, and I'm not as mad as I used to be because I got all this frustration out. The first issue was about all of that stuff I described. The second issue was about strip clubs. The third issue was about TV and cable. The fourth issue, Star Wars, said episode 1 was coming out. So I did an entire issue on Star Wars. And then the back, the other side of the book was always a flip book by a friend of Scott's named Jack Snyder, who ran a character called Max Velocity. And that was a book that we were going to solicit for, that we were worried right out the gate we were not going to get high enough numbers for, because it was a cool book and it looked awesome, very professionally done, but we didn't think the numbers were going to pull down on it. So we serialized it in the back of the 3 Spank books.
Now, Jack was
go ahead.
Jack also did pro work, but he got in about the same time I did. And he had a lot of experience, one at the same time I was doing it, illustrating Looney Tunes, Tiny Toons for Warner's. And then he did a lot of inking on Malibu's DS9 book. I think it was Malibu, yeah. And the thing is, Jack is always, he's an incredibly funny guy if you get to know him. But he, when he did Max Velocity, it was just this genius humor writing he had. It was just awesome. Just a real quick example. One panel has the narrator of the book saying, "Oh, the Great Galactic Council decided they needed to have a workforce to help make the universe run smoother and all this. And they decided they needed to implant cybernetic brains into giant monkeys. And eventually the monkeys decided they wanted more than just a diet of bananas. And so they revolted and almost took over the universe. Who knew?" And
it's one of those things that happen.
Incredibly wiry, just insane dialogue. And yeah, didn't Spank run for 3 issues, and Jack's Max Velocity was in the back of all 3?
Jack was in the back of 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah,
of Spank the Monkey. Then we were running into low numbers again, so I decided to do it this time, and we were still running up against Diamond constantly. Every time anytime we heard from Diamond, they were shutting one of our titles down.
Yeah.
So we figured Diamond was cutting our orders at least 20% off of our invoices, and then they were shorting all the retailers even more. So, like I said, we had angry retailers coming at us wanting to know why they ordered 5 and only they were lucky to get 3 if they got
well, here's the thing.
any at all.
Did your invoice say 5? So you sent 5 and then Diamond would only send 3. So what were they doing with the extra books?
They were feeding the other companies higher up the line, is what we figured.
No. The other books that you sent them, that's what she.
The bigger accounts were pulling on reorder early. Either that, or they were just undercutting our orders and then undercutting them.
Oh, okay.
On top. We ended up tracking down a rep tracking down. Scott and I cornered one in
Hunting.
an elevator. Yeah, we cornered one in an elevator to
Stalking.
ChicagoCon, and the rep literally told us, "Oh, you're in the green." Well, hey, anybody in the green section, Diamond just wants to dry up and blow away.
Lovely.
And that was
Right.
literally what he told us, as you know, we were letting him off of the.
It's those predatory and just bad business practices that lead to ruining the industry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what it does, and it's only because we've now got a gap because DC basically walked away from Diamond because of the last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always going to come to this because it was just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
But hopefully now, from the ashes, a phoenix can arise.
And we're just passing the top of the hour. I want to let our radio audience know how much we appreciate them. We don't have our numbers. Varian isn't in the house right now to tell us how many of you are out there, but we know you're there. We deeply appreciate you listening, and you're listening to an episode of the Sunday Funnies for the 7th of March, 2021. This is an Arrow special. We're going to be talking about the return of Arrow here real quick and what we plan on doing in the future. So...
I mean, I just can't get over the fact that you literally needed a decoy book in order to get other stories out into the world.
Good point. Good point.
Well, we were tired of playing with them, you know, on trying to get anything close to any profit. So we were so proud of these books. You don't know the mental stress that you undergo. These are all of your kids. I was printing stuff.
Yeah.
Had people bringing me material that I had to print. You know, that it's the kind of book where they go, "Will you print our book?" We absolutely will print your book because it's top-notch quality. Then we get the numbers in on the book, and we have to call the person up and say, "Guess what? We can't print your book because we're going to lose serious money, and we're so sorry." And then they get mad. I had a creator character who was on a tear against me for years over that, and to the point where he was setting up signs at conventions. Don't trust this person in Arrow Comics. They screwed me over so bad. They've ruined my career or hindered my career. I'll never forgive them, and blah blah blah.
See, this is why I think it's important that we cover some of this things with Diamond. Again, not trying to be a Diamond bashing show, but the fact is laying out the history and the reality of what it was like back then, so that anybody who wants to follow this and it can help them decide about support and willingness to follow, knowing what the situation really was back then and what we still might be facing today. And I think that's a very important bank of information that somebody should have. I don't think anybody, if these guys had understood exactly what was going on behind the scenes, I don't think there would have been any wave of animosity.
Well, I finally got fed up and decided to do one more mini series with Spank the Monkey. That's Spank the Monkey on the Comic Market was the title of it. And the first issue covered all of comics history. The second issue covered the situation with comics at that point currently, and this was early 2000s, very early 2000s. And then the third issue covered the problems as we saw it and how you can address how it needs to be addressed and needs to be conquered. So, and at the end of that third issue was that cover, or that last page I wanted to draw with the first Spank, with him flipping everybody off and going, "We're out of here. We're done." And during that time, we had discovered doing graphic novels with print on demand folks. And Diamond was really happy to see us start producing graphic novels. They were really happy to promote our stuff. We collected the War of the Worlds. Until we collected all of the War of the Worlds books that I had done with Caliber, because I had the rights for them. We had Scott do a cover for them. And put that out through Diamond, and it was pretty well received, to the point where we actually got a reorder for it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it was a print on demand book, and we weren't going to go back and print, a couple extra books just to fill their silly reorders. So we told them we didn't have the copies, which ticked them off even more. So then we had another book that I had print on demanded that I called Zim's Heroic Tales, that I put a bunch of properties that I had done for other publishers over the years together in one large volume. It's like 124 pages or so together. And it had the New Breed, the Fool, and the Unforgiven in it. I printed up a couple hundred copies of that in the hopes that Diamond would pick it up. And when we went and put the solicitation in with the cover feature, and we got absolute silence from Diamond. We were looking in the previews, it wasn't listed. In the next previews, it wasn't listed. We kept calling the rep to try to get an answer from them as to why the book was not listed. Still no response. And I'm not sure if Spank 3 had come out by that point, or Spank the Monkey on the Comic Market 3 had come out by that point or not. But it took us 3 months to get a rep to return our call to tell us they weren't going to carry the book because it was in black and white. And that's their direct quote was, black and white superheroes don't sell.
God.
Again, you're a distributor, not a publisher. Why are you making editorial decisions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Daphne, Russ, let's all three of us do a simultaneous face palm about that, okay?
And again, I'll be the first to admit the book's got flaws all the way through. I did an opening and closing narration on each book that I showed. This is the property. This is what I meant to do with it. This is what it was. We printed the book, and then after that, I said this is where we were going to go with that property, and then explained, because it was three different stories, literally, that went in three different properties, went in three different directions. So I was using it as almost a teaching moment at the end and going, this is why the property went off.
No. I got to have you back up on that, Randy, because the editorial quality of the property is never part of the equation in terms of distribution.
No, but I can see all the flaws in it because I was the one who went through and typed everything.
But that's marketing on your end. I mean, Diamond, it's not, any more than any of the crowdfunders should have any decision making on the editorial of a product.
And we all know that sound.
So I sold the hell out of that book at conventions.
No, but the thing is,
really and I only printed 150 of them, and they were gone. Varian still treasures his copy to this day. I don't think I have a complete copy. I've got one that's in pieces that they used for their the galley copy.
No, we all find a pimple on our ass eventually. So that's not that's not going to explain why the jeans fit right. I mean, but so, because the whole point is that just feeds into the whole Diamond editorial stance, baloney. Because again, you successfully filled your end of the bargain. You produced the product, you had it printed, you delivered on time, you delivered the amount ordered. That's the
I sent them completed copies of the book too.
Yeah, but that's the alpha and omega of any of the creation Diamond should ever have.
And this went out right on the heels of the War of the Worlds book, so they knew that we were producing product that could sell because they were getting reorders from the retailers. We didn't fill the War of the Worlds book because they told us about Zim's Heroic Tales. They weren't going to carry that book. We were like, well, screw you. We're done. We're done, totally done. And we were disgusted. Scott went back to retailing. I got out of comics. I stopped doing freelance work. I went out and started doing other things. I had my own apparel business for 4 or 5 years with a couple of partners. And then during that time, I decided to start doing Flint comics because there was no way I was going to deal with Diamond, but I could not stop doing comics. Again, it gets in the blood, and you really want to do it. So I started printing Flint Comics and Entertainment. I did a entertainment newspaper. I think that's I got a small card for that. Boom, with some of the characters on it. In fact, the fool there along the bottom was one of the characters that were in Zim's Heroic Tales. I took a bunch of stuff that I had done. We did a whole bunch of short stories because I love short stories, short comic stories. That is, absolutely love them. And we'll get to the result of that here in just a second. But I did that newspaper for 10 years, monthly, advertiser supported. So people in the county could walk up to a red newspaper box and take a free paper, like your alternative papers that you see around.
Yeah, anybody
rarely anymore.
Flint. It was the most awesome thing in the world to be, to go into a bar or to go into a pharmacy, whatever.
Oh yeah,
and you'd see these boxes sitting outside.
Yep.
And there was Flint Comics displayed just like every other newspaper. It was just awesome. It was a great project. You ran it for 10 years.
I did.
Yeah.
10 years with 100 issues, 10,000 print run on each one. And very rarely did we have returns.
Oh yeah. Now,
Yeah.
real quick, just as a quick aside, Russ, you made a somewhat dubious grunt noise a little bit ago. Can you expand on
That
that?
doesn't narrow it down.
It doesn't narrow it down at all.
I heard
I was
it.
just
You hear that grunt?
suffering from some back pain.
Oh.
It was to do with what you said about having having comics in your blood and not being able to stop.
Yeah.
It's
And I
just,
compared it to
you can't.
septicemia.
You feel that, don't you? We all feel it. We're all here.
you can't. It's just in there, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I thought he
And
found
you-
on his ass. I wasn't sure.
And you
And
might
you
as
got-
well produce, or you're not going to be
Yeah.
happy.
Exactly.
No,
Well,
it's
you're not going to
true.
eat. Yeah. Yeah. There are so many other jobs I could have done and made much more money. But
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
God.
I did
Well,
this.
Unfortunately, I was in the Flint, Michigan area, and this was 2014, 2015. We had a water crisis that was nationally brought in the news, and it's still not settled to this day. The fact they're arguing over whatever settlement and who's responsible for what and who ought to be arrested for what, for saying whatever. They're still forgive the pun, wading through that quagmire. But when that happened, the mom and pop advertising money disappeared. So we were literally going from issue to issue by the skin of our teeth. I was throwing shows once a year that allowed us to print. It actually gave me money for a couple of print runs in profit every show. We set up a show at the farmers market, only charge people $5 to get in and $50 for tables.
Oh yeah. Those are great shows.
And Scott was doing those shows on a regular basis. In fact, I got invited. I was asked to do a fall show, which we did, and kept running up against a cancer run every year. I changed the week. Cancer run would change their week to go right up against me. So all of the parking, because of the cancer run, was taken for a mile and a half. I literally had people come into the show telling me they had to walk a mile and a half just to get to the show.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. But then we also got invited up to Saginaw for the SVRC Marketplace, and we had a huge show up there, literally shoulder to shoulder. Never get away with that today.
Yeah, no, not yet.
Because at all.
Well,
because
not
of
for
social
another 5 years.
Well, yeah, hopefully.
Oh,
knock on wood.
We'll
We'll get to that point again, but we were literally, Scott was also at that show. We were literally sardined in. It was a shoulder to shoulder to move at that show. It's a great show, phenomenal time. Love the place. We'll go back up there again as soon as it's safe. They also want, they contacted me a couple of weeks ago. You think it's going to be safe this year? Because we would really love to have you back. And I'm like, not at the numbers that we pulled in. There's no way people are going to want to stand shoulder to shoulder with each other.
Everybody did well at that show too. I mean,
Huge. Yeah. Everybody did we did really well personally too. And it kept the paper going for a while.
Oh yeah.
So it was decided by my bank account and my lovely wife that 100 issues is probably time to stop. So I kept it going. We jumped down to bi-monthly for a little while there towards the end, and then we stopped at issue 100 because to me the 100 mark was an important mark for us.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it was 1 million copies. We had 1 million copies of this paper in our county, moving 10,000 a hit. And it really showed me that people are out there desperately want to be entertained by comics, and they'll happily read them if it's accessible and they feel that there's value.
Yes.
I mean,
to what they're getting.
Because Randy sent me samples of those newspapers, and I fell in love the second I saw them. I mean, it's like I would have hunted these down. With all the comic strips, and it was just like.
Well, we carried syndicated strips. I went out and found folks that I really liked, like Emily Zalasko had a regular strip in it. Matt Fazell, who does Cynical Man. I had to print Matt Fazell. If you've never seen Cynical Man before, it's all stick figures. Matt is a genius telling a story with stick figures.
Oh,
and it was so much fun to print his material, and it was also very accessible.
Russ, have you seen a copy of Flint Comics? Yeah,
I'll have to mail some to you soon.
No,
I know that the rates to get anything to you right now are just crazy.
It's just ridiculous at the moment.
Ever since Brexit went through, I think that the postage rates
which is bizarre because our postage rates have gone up. They went up by the yearly amount, and everywhere I post to is pretty reasonable, to be honest.
Oh,
you can ship out from there, but we can't ship to you without it being huge.
well, not only that, I mean, it's like I had to cancel some UK orders because I guess there's some new rules now where shippers have to we have to collect VAT taxes.
What?
Instead, so it's like, so they said, oh, you have to sign up for a VAT tax number, and this, and the website was so Byzantine, I literally refunded those orders. I had to.
I'm not
because
aware of that.
I couldn't fulfill them at all.
Yeah.
I'm
according
sure that
to the
wasn't just
regulations.
Europe.
No, that was UK specifically. That was UK specifically.
I think that
Not
kicked
heard.
in because of your Brexit situation.
I'm not
Yeah.
idiot. Bloody
Right.
Europe.
Yeah.
Quick side-
I sent everybody PDFs, just as an apology. It's like, here, enjoy my stuff anyway.
Two
but,
bloody wars and a corporate takeover, and they're still
Yeah.
giving us a hard time.
yeah.
Well, I was cursing the U.S. Postal Service, thinking it was their fault until I did research, and come to find out it's actually Britain's fault that the postal rates for us to ship to you are so high.
Yeah.
Do you know much about? Have I heard correctly that they might be reversing Brexit? They might be kind of getting out.
Well, hopefully
No.
after a period of
It's not
time,
happening.
they're going to calm down their postage rates at least.
There will be. It's going to carry on for a few months yet, and everything will calm down because people want to make money. Business will make it calm down.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's as simple as that.
because I mean, there's a whole bunch of like shop owners here that they're outright saying they will not ship to the UK.
Well, it'll have to change.
Yeah.
It's just going to have to change. There's no the political. The problem is the problem with Europe. The problem with the UK and Europe, right from since the mid 1990s, is political union over economic union. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being in an economic union with everybody in Europe, but as soon as you start adding politics to it, people get upset.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, and that's effectively what's at the core of all this. So we've just got to get over all the crappy politics.
Yeah.
The last year hasn't helped, and then when the EU messed up their own vaccination program, that hasn't helped either because there's a lot of bitter people out there.
And I was going to say, the U.S. system has not contributed, constructively during the last years.
No, not in any way, shape, or form.
Varian says he's
Either way.
out. Varian says he's out sitting in the church parking lot. We need to step it up.
Hey, if God won't let him in, what are we supposed to do?
We need to move this along here. It's like, oh, are you going to get to a point? I want to hear your announcements. So
Certainly, from my perspective, it doesn't bother me. The post is exactly the same, so I can post to every one of you out there in the world, internationally. You can have death on your doorstep anytime you like.
there we go.
I'm waiting.
Yep.
I'm waiting. Send that hooded sucker my way.
Man.
Varian
Speaking of
said,
Kickstarters,
oh my God, Rosebud just outed me. No, he just outed me. Cameron says, "Good morning. We are way backed up on the chat. Get
It's a long way back. Yeah,
that I meant just outed.
Just
Gotta stop typing.
we're outed Varian. Yeah.
Marvi says, hello, everyone. Hello, Marvi.
Hello.
Lunch is always late on Sundays, but I'm here. It's all good. Kino Subway says, hey, I have the Dead World book, and I have some of the Realm books. Love those books. Yeah, we all did. Anybody who ran across them, Marvin or Kino. And the Realm stuff still desperately needs to be colored and put back out in print.
I would love
It's
that.
just
I would love
some
that.
classic material. Question is Arrow.0 accepting submissions in what genres? Good question, Marvi. We'll get there. Hopefully. Pop says good morning.
Hey, but
Morning, Madness. Oh, wait. Wrong show.
Ha.
Oh.
Hey, Pop.
You're here.
Hey, Pops.
Mike says, morning, Pops. Hope you're having a good Sunday. Nita says, morning. Morning, Pops. Grant says, morning. Nita says, hey, Grant. And on and on. Yo, yo, yo.
Not here.
Pop says, Pops, only Russ can save us. Yes, yes. Mike says, Diamond really just went and just put a bottleneck on the industry. Yes, they did. In that way, crowdfunding came at just the right time for a lot of creators. It did. It could have been here about 10 years sooner, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's here now, which
This
is
is what
the
we
idea.
call a segue.
We'll grow into that role of Sugar Pops. Yep.
Oh, I know. Real quick though. I know that Russ will save us because he is, after all, comic book black belt.
Yeah.
Brian
Thank
K.
you.
Morris says, "Good morning, friends. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
I'll
Brian.
catch the rerun, but had to stop and send the love. Thanks, Brian, so much.
Yay.
Brian, Rising Tide Publications is doing a whole string of shows that program all kinds of different things. Very worth your time to go over there and enjoy. He does what I'm trying to do now, only he does it for the entire broadcast. He has
And
so many people
Fez.
come in on the chat. That's bloody terrible. Big
Yeah,
circus.
doing with the Fez is the real trick.
Yeah. Time
And
for me
his
to
shows
become
have
educated.
great names too. His shows have just the names alone.
Yeah. Never mind the furthermore. Clever
Title
pending.
pending. Yeah.
Morning, Nita. Mike, Jimmy, I think that frustration was the same for a lot of smaller publishers. I know it was, Mike. I really do. I've heard it come by from many different big names in the industry. That's why you saw that green section kind of constrict just for a little bit when every time they added a new hoop or extended their minimums, you saw that green section that you could look at from looking at the outside of the spine, get it smaller and smaller and smaller. A lot of these local, like I said, the mainstream companies have to go after licensed properties in order just to get noticed. That's why you've got your Dynamites and your IDWs and all of those folks out there now.
I think Jake is threatening you, Randy. He says,
Jake, thank you. Jake, very much. Good to see. Brian says the bastardry of Diamond is beyond imagination. Yes, and we did not mean to turn this into a negative Diamond show. It's actually supposed to be a very positive Arrow show.
But the thing is, though, that's the reason why it's the reason why Tall Tales disappeared for a while. It's the reason why you disappeared for a while. It's not because we didn't want to put the books out.
I think it's fair to say it isn't all Diamond's fault. There are two other large companies that have a big hand in it.
No, that's more than a bed for one.
Well, now those two big. The thing is, though, and this is one of the ironic things about them. These two big companies signing, and anybody signs an exclusive agreement with Diamond, you're constricted now. You're stuck, and this is the Reaper coming for this industry, because you went exclusive with these companies who decided they were only going to cater to a small amount of retailers and then enforce a bunch of restrictions on them, which they literally forced their base to go from 9,000 clients down to 1,200 clients.
Right.
Which restricts your audience.
Restricts your audience. And it's over a period of those 30 years that they've been doing this, the retail shops have gotten a bad stigma, just like comics has, for being primarily male literature, because that's a lot of what Diamond would only allow out there.
Yeah. Now,
especially from the alternative companies, the alternative people like who did Cerebus and ElfQuest and Bone were restricted. And a lot of times, no matter what their quality was, if their retail board decided they weren't good enough to go, or those people, then this is also a big complaint that I've heard out there for alternative publishers. Well, you won't get past the first issue. Diamond won't even look at you, or didn't before. I don't know if their standards have
3 issues.
Yeah, they have 3 issues done and printed and at their retailer board before they remotely decided if you were worth it. So you had to fork over a huge amount of money just to see if you could be let in.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people did not have.
Oh yeah, I mean, it really forced you to have to be a real, guerrilla marketer to make anything happen. Now, real quick, Randy, read what Brian has to say. Not just because he says something nice about me.
Oh, he says you make a good point. That's about Diamond's gatekeeping. They weren't the only ones. I liked Capital City a lot, but I offered them my small, almost microscopic press comics at a major discount. But Capital didn't pass it on to the retailers and offered my work at the same level of other independent titles who had higher overhead. Hashtag level the playing field. That's true, but Capital, to their credit, were really pushing the alternative markets while they were alive in order to get it out there. You don't see a whole lot of, you don't see that broad base covering on ICV2, which is Capital's website now aimed at retailer news. You don't see the same love that Capital City distributors used to have for those alternative books.
Right.
So we have to do things like this in order to make title announcements and to, get the word out. That's why podcasting, that's why YouTube is so big right now and is getting a larger growing readership constantly, because the readership out there is figuring out that this is where you can come to get news about the books that might be alternative, independent, and remotely cutting edge.
Yeah.
So
and that's really too bad about Capital, because I always thought that the Capital's business model was so much better than Diamond's.
yeah, but that's moot now. Capital's out of business.
Yeah, I know.
As a distributor, I mean.
Yeah, it's just too bad that they got sucked up by Diamond.
Yeah. Capital didn't pass it on. Level the playing field. I already said that. From the desk of a small press publisher. Question is what Chuck Rosansky from Mile High Comics said hold more true today? Diamond was the vehicle for DC to close down and lock down their direct market distribution. DC is 100% at fault. I don't think that's absolutely true, Joe. I think DC had a handle into Diamond, but they also signed that exclusive distribution agreement with Diamond, just like Marvel did. Yeah. They could have pulled away and not done that, and they were starting already. Don't forget, they were already looking at alternative means of distribution before the bug hit, because they were knocking on Walmart and Target's doors long before that bug sprung up.
They were experimenting early on, yeah.
They were trying to get out from underneath that, and anybody, either of those two big guys, could have walked at any time. I mean, the littler guys, your Dark Horse and Image on down were stuck with Diamond, and when they signed that exclusive agreement, their hands were tied.
It's like we're owned by Disney. Yeah, come at us, bro.
Yeah.
Diamond is going to try to go after Disney for contract issues.
And you've seen where those decisions have led with Diamond. They just recently cut a third of their distribution capabilities by shutting down one of their major warehouses about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So what's going on?
Yeah, and I was going to say, isn't was it DC or Marvel? They're cutting a deal now with one of the big book distributors.
DC Lunar. They're a subscription service distributor. Yeah. Okay. And some of the other publishers are starting to, the ones that aren't exclusive with Diamond are starting to go over to Lunar as well in order to get further distribution. But also at the same time, you've got a couple of other people exactly like what Varian's doing, who's starting up Liberty distribution. And Liberty is going out there intentionally trying to find the alternative and independent books in order to distribute to retail accounts. And he's got, I think he said 50 retail accounts already signed in. And we encourage anybody out there who's retailing to take a look at Liberty distribution, because they are gaining ground. They're starting to get more and more accounts all the time. They're at www.ledg.us. That's Liberty Entertainment Distribution.
I don't remember giving Varian permission to use that picture of me from my college days as a logo.
Well, we constantly say we're not here to talk about our porn career, Scott.
Well, yeah, but
depending on the episode, I might be.
Sometimes things just stick out.
Oh boy. Okay, now back to point. We got out. We got out of the business. Arrow Comics stopped. I did one more Arrow Comics after we stopped doing that, and that was with Sisters Comics, and that was a copy of Owasso Taco House Funnies.
Oh.
And it was more of a vanity press book. We printed that through Brenner on a mass market scale, but we didn't distribute it through Diamond, because at that point, Diamond wasn't going to give me the time of day anyway. So, and they definitely they turned their back on Sisters Comics as well. That was a couple of young girls that sat down and drew their own characters. There was one character called Lucky, the stray dog. I think that was his whole name, Lucky. Yeah, he was a dog that kept having stuff happen to him. It was they were 8 to 12-year-old kids when they created these properties, and it was a rather violent strip. But and there was the other one was See-Through Baby, which was like the see-through guy model. This was a see-through baby with transparent skin that you could see through. So, it was fun. It was fun property.
Now,
so we threw all of them. We used to meet once a week over at the Owasso Taco House and got to know the owners there. So we were joking around one day and said, why don't we all do a comic just like those old underground books? We can call it Owasso Taco House Funnies. It'd be fun. So we all threw in a couple of pages and threw in some bucks, and I'll had it printed.
Yeah,
Yes.
but don't forget though, there's an actual menu in the comic for the taco house, so you can actually order while you're reading the comic.
No, well, the taco house isn't there anymore, but back then you could have used it. Yeah.
Now, just for those who aren't really that familiar, Owasso is a small city just outside of Flint,
just west, about 20 minutes west of Flint. Yeah.
And the thing is, it had this place called the Taco House. Now, I never been to it. Unfortunately, I wish I would have gone while it was still in business. But everybody I've ever talked to about the Taco House says they were the best tacos because they were greasy.
Mm-hmm.
They were just full of, just all this goodness that a real taco should have.
I hear you.
And it's no wonder comic people congregated there.
This is funny. I'm looking at the clock and I'm thinking, are we going to really be able to fill up 2 hours just with the stuff we're gonna do? It might not be. And here we are, less than a half an hour to go. We haven't even gotten to Arrow 4.0 yet, and we've just been talking. This is the way Sunday Funnies works, folks.
Oh no, Daphne, real quick. How do you like my phrasing so far today?
You're beautiful today. And I'm going to be out the job soon.
I'll hire you on as an assistant. Don't worry about
it. Well, we'll always have this clip.
Daphne, do we have something we want to add to this?
Yeah.
Stop sucking.
Anyway.
I never thought I'd be able to add to my vocabulary, but I did.
I'm a meme.
We've been talking about doing a nitwittery show where we just sit around and laugh at comics all day, but maybe we'll do that. Maybe we won't. Hopefully we're going to be too busy to do that. Arrow Comics is coming back, folks. Arrow 4.0. What happened after I stopped doing the newspaper and things were springing up? Varian brought YouTube to my attention. So I sat there and started watching all of these different programs talk about comics and funnies and stuff. A little bit, very little of the history was coming out. Nobody was really talking about them at the time. Now there are plenty of shows out there. Nobody was really talking about the nuts and bolts of the business. And Varian had this internet radio station that he was playing alternative music with. So the two of us decided to start talking to each other and airing the podcast on the internet radio. And that's really how Indie Volt Radio started. And that has stretched out to what it is now, where we've got tens of thousands close. Sometimes we get really close to that 100,000 mark of listeners out there throughout the world who are listening to us on Indie Volt Radio, indievolt.com. You can get to it from there. But we're also on YouTube and we're also on Facebook, and we have really high numbers for today's show. That's what it looks. So folks out there, if you can hit that like button, if you're out on YouTube, please subscribe. We are dreading the day when we hit 1,000 subscribers. I think Indie Volt channel is passing, if not 650. I think they're really close to it. Once we hit that 1,000 mark, then we're really going to have to start sweating about how we talk, but we'll also be able to
enjoy my nonsense now.
Yeah. So, but we could also take super chats to help afford the streaming expenses that Varian has to fork out on a regular basis.
Another good phrase for today. It's awesome.
Got to be careful.
Randy, I'm just curious, how far did the numbers drop when I came on this morning? Did it?
I have no clue. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Varian is out of his house at the moment.
Let me know.
Oh, he still has people there. So anybody thinking about visiting while he's gone, no.
I always want track of who I really push away. It's one great skill.
I'm getting radio vibes from Varian,
right.
And he's saying we want to hear about Arrow Comics and what's going on.
There you go.
Where we're going.
He wants us to be disciplined.
Yes.
Is this Arrow 4.0? I've been sitting in the parking lot waiting to hear the official announcements.
He's going, come on.
Yeah. So I'm getting there too. Come on.
All right, Uncle Phil don't play that game.
It's supposed to be a 2-hour show. So, okay, with YouTube, with the start of Indie Volt Radio, we've gotten to know a lot of people, reacquaint with a lot of people that we knew or just barely said hello to or snubbed at shows. And
Look, explain that.
and we know we have a huge listening audience out there all over the place. Here's Varian's coming back in to tell us. Snap it up.
Here he is. The man's back.
The man's already been gone and already back. No, he's on his phone. He's looking mean.
He's got that grumpy face.
He's got a grumpy face.
I thought for a while God had turned you into a round.
Let's go. I'm ready to hear some announcements. I'm on.
We're ready to give some announcements. I'm getting there. We
No
can
explaining
hear an
anything.
echo off of your phone though.
There he is. The man's back. That's right.
Man's already been gone and already back. See, we're letting our show catch up.
I'm not
to your
back.
show. No, you need to turn your volume down just a little. We'll get there. You can watch it later. All right, there we go.
Standards and practices are making demands.
Yeah. Get to it. I'm getting to it. With our Indie Volt radio audience and a lot of people that we picked up were extremely talented. We decided, I suggested a while ago, maybe we should put a book